Hello, I'm Tiffany, and welcome to the Manifestation Lab. This week we are doing the dynamic laws of love. It's actually a mashup using this book of old, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. We're going to use this baby and apply these laws to love. Are you ready? When I was reading this book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, I was a teenager, late teenager perhaps, early young adult. I was neither prosperous in love or money. I may have had lots of opportunities in love, but none of them panned out. I was young, I was beautiful, I had the beauty of youth, certainly, as all young people do. But I took all the opportunities I had and squandered them with love specifically. And I could argue with prosperity also, because these dynamic laws are across the board. They apply to all aspects of manifestation. In fact, prosperity as it's defined in the Bible is our relationships, our money, our health, our resources, our opportunities. Prosperity is the expansive mode of living, whereas poverty is the scarce mode of living. So while I was throwing away opportunities, I was doing so with the energetic level that I was on. My vibration put out all my negative nonsense constantly, so that even if I did get a relationship with someone that I cared for, that I even went so far as to love, I blew it with my negativity, my scarcity thinking, my nonsense belief system. The truth is that whatever we believe is exactly what we create in our life. The way this works is that we have something within our brain called the reticular activating system. Its job is to filter out the immense data that is in every moment of our life and filter in just what we need to work with in that moment. So how it does that is it feeds our belief system. Whatever we believe is programmed into this reticular activating system, and it only picks out those things that coincides with our belief system. So we can literally believe whatever we want to believe, and we will pick out data that feeds these new belief systems. So the problem is, how do we create a new belief system? Because we use habit. We use the leverage of habit, because habit certainly has the ability to hold us into old patterns. But so we can use that habit by creating new habits. We can change the way we think, we can change the way we feel, but we do so decisively and with commitment to do so. And that's what we're going to do here today in this challenge. Now, one problem I had when I was young in using this book was that I thought that thoughts were king, that it was all about the thoughts, and my thinking fixed everything. I paid no attention to my feelings. Well, really, the truth is, back when I was doing this, when it wasn't even really called manifestation, it was called creative visualization, it was called new age or new thought. So all these words, new thought, creative visualization, was all kind of focused on the thinking system. So it really didn't even occur to me that it was a physical, mental, and spiritual practice to manifest something. At the same time that I'm seeking spiritually and learning these laws of the universe, as they're so called, I am at the same time training as a performing artist in music and dance. I'm in film and television at this time, and I have this very strong discipline that's been given to me by my formal artistic education. And I'm beginning to see that the performing arts and the creative arts overlap in so many ways with these spiritual principles. They intersect in many different ways. And I begin to bring my disciplinary practice of creativity into manifestation. And so it is here where my vibration enters my body, where I begin to see the connection between thoughts and emotions, where the vibration of my thoughts reflects in the vibration of my emotions. The vibration of my emotions reflects in my environment around me. And the process of creative visualization becomes a very real process for me. And it's just something that's been exponentially building as I've grown older, to the point where now it has to be replicated in the body to come forth. While creating in life is beautiful, and building is certainly beautiful, and absolutely a gorgeous process that I love to see every time, and it's so exciting every time. It doesn't get old in any way. What is more exciting to me, and what is more fulfilling, is the idea that I control my belief system, that controls my vibration and my frequency, so I can keep myself at a higher level more often. I don't suffer these dips and valleys because I have control over myself. I'm not reactionary to my environment. So I urge you, if you're in the beginning stages of manifestation, I understand how it can be frustrating when you don't instantly see what you've created. When the truth is, when we create, it is instant. It has already happened. We just haven't seen it reflected in our environment. But it's difficult to operate within the environment that doesn't reflect our new reality. But if you keep at it and keep working at it, you'll absolutely see the results, smaller and then bigger and then bigger. But more important, what you'll get from the get-go, before anything manifests, is you'll have this incredible discipline over your state of being and over your vibrational frequency. It will changes how you attract people to you. It changes what you attract to you. And it is so important. It is the foundation of manifestation. Now, the first principle I'm going to deal with today is prosperity is our divine right. I'm going to use an example from Scripture, actually the first example from Scripture. When God created the earth and he put man in the Garden of Eden, this was our reality, paradise, where everything came to us, whatever we wanted, we just picked it out of a tree. We didn't farm, we didn't till, we didn't search for our loved one. Our loved one was made for us. Now, when we decided that we wanted to know what God knew, and that we wanted to be able to create whatever we want, different from this paradise that we were in, that God created for us, that's when we introduced freedom of choice. So instead of constant expansion and beauty, we have the choice of up or down. Now, down has a drag and a pull on it that becomes easier. If we're just standing still, we get pulled down. The truth is, we're manifesting our reality whether we know it or not. There's unconscious manifesting, when you are creating everything you see around you, but you don't take responsibility for it. Then there's conscious manifesting, when you take responsibility for it. And responsibility is such a huge aspect of manifestation, because it's very difficult to take responsibility for things that oftentimes seem out of our control. But responsibility, on the other hand, feels very empowering, because when we take responsibility, it takes us out of the victimhood status and it puts us in charge of the situation, so that we have control over how we react to the situation. And the situation does not act on us. We act on it. Now, seeing what we want and seeing what we don't want, and seeing what we have and seeing what we don't have, is probably easier than seeing the underlying thoughts. The underlying thoughts control what we have and don't have. So, for instance, in our case, we are applying these prosperity principles to love and relationships. So say you don't have your mate, or you're in a relationship and you're not happy. And you can look at that other person and you can blame everything about them for why it's not working. Or if you're alone, you can blame your culture that you live in, or you can blame the other gender, that they are the reason why you aren't with someone. But the truth is that even in an extreme example, where, say, your spouse is cheating or having addiction issues or extremely negative, doesn't take responsibility, you think to yourself, well, how have I created this? Perhaps, and I'm going to take this example from my own past, that in your desire to be the good one, you look good in comparison to the more negative. The more negative something is, the better you look good. So, is it egotistical? These are hard questions to ask, but ones that you want to ask. Am I being egotistical in my desire to be a martyr here in this relationship? Or lack of relationship? Do I believe that all men will leave because my father left, so that you can't create that relationship? The shadow work is just as important as getting clear on what it is that you want. And the shadow work are the beliefs that you believe in your subconscious, right below the surface, that stop you from getting what you want. A way that I love to challenge these belief systems, and I'll talk more about this in a later principle, is by using the law of command. So I'll say out loud, I like to go on nightly walks when it's dark and no one can see me talking to myself. And I speak it out loud, everything that I want, as if it is happening now. I am beauty. I am prosperous. I am deeply loved. Whatever it is that you want, say it out loud, and then watch your thoughts in your mind. Oftentimes, if you are not incongruent with this command, with your prophecy, with your prophetic speaking, you're going to hear your mind argue with you. And it is in this arguing mind that you can pinpoint your belief system. You might think on the surface, wow, I know I think I can have this. I know I think I'm worthy. Why isn't it coming to me? But when you directly challenge it with a daily practice, you will find your arguing mind. And it is there that you want to list and mark down your shadow work, your shadow beliefs that are following you around, and challenge them by speaking out loud to them every day. With habit and practice, even just the words out loud dissolve these belief systems, at least to step up to higher and higher levels. So we're taking account of the ways in which you are prosperous, the ways in which you aren't, and the reason why you don't believe prosperity in love is possible for you. So why don't you deserve to be loved? Do you feel worthy? Journaling prompts in this situation would be great as to why you don't feel worthy. Experiences that may have led to that in your life, or programming that you're hearing from outside sources that tell you that you're not good enough. You want to write all these down and then let them go. The second principle we're discussing is the basic law of prosperity. And I've touched on this earlier with our vibration creates our reality. And really, everything that we give is what we get back. I have often found in relationships that when I don't feel like I'm getting enough, giving is what I turn to, and it turns the tide. It decreases tension. It dissolves conflict. And the other person steps up in place of wherever they may have been before. So if I was concerned about what I wasn't getting and I focused on it constantly in my thoughts, my partner would feel that vibrationally, even if I never said a word. And it would come through in my subtle actions. And they would feel that, and then they would begin to take on that same, they would mirror my vibration. They would begin to think what they're not getting from me. Now, I am not God. I am not perfect, so there is no way that I can fulfill another person completely. I mean, I can strive to and try, but there will be many ways in which I fall short compared to other people and other relationships. So if I'm going to focus on what I'm not getting from another person, they're going to focus on that with me, usually. Unless you're consciously manifesting and giving into a relationship then you can turn the tide. When you give into the relationship, and this can be with your love partner, your mate, it can also be with your work colleagues that you're having difficulties with. It can be with friends that you're having conflicts with. It can be with family members. You want to use these principles across the board in your relationships. Giving into the relationship requires the other person to step up. It almost highlights how they may be holding back from you. Now, do we want to be in the scarcity mindset of love where we're pulling and needing and wondering what we're getting? Do you see how that draws the energy in? There's like this suckage, and people can feel it and they resist it. Whereas if you are magnetic, you are giving energy, you are expansive, and people are very much more attracted to this because it brings out their own expansion. We want to edify and build people up, and we can do that simply with our energy. All right, our third principle we're discussing today is the vacuum law of prosperity. What does vacuum mean? Vacuum means when you suck things in and get rid of them. So this is the process of letting go. And while I can't say any one step is more important than the other, letting go is incredibly important in manifestation. And if we hold on to things and we do not let them go, they will not manifest. So an important aspect when we decide what it is that we are going for in our accounting, and we consciously choose to believe thoughts that are empowering for us, and then we become what it is we're trying to attract. Next, we let go of what is not serving us. And we also let go of the concentrating on it. So we literally just don't even concentrate on what it is that we want to create, because it already is. If something already is, you don't focus on needing it. It is the needing it that keeps it in a place away from you. So letting go, feeling that you have it without needing to focus on it. When it comes to prosperity, the letting go is letting go of the idea of it, the money coming to you, say. But in love and relationships, this letting go can look a little bit different. It is in forgiving and releasing people. Now, with manifestation, it is very important that we not put our juju, so to speak, on another person. For one, they aren't within our responsibility, so it's not going to work anyway. But two, they can feel this pull when you're doing that. So even, now I've heard it said that with your husband, you can do it with your husband because you've been tied together. But I almost like to think of just a placeholder person, kind of fuzzing the lines. So when you talk about, I attract a wonderful man to me, we don't put a face on it of someone we know or someone we want. We try and fuzz out the lines as much as possible. Now, these people that we look towards and are attracted to in our life can be wonderful markers for what it is that we want. It's a benchmark. We like them because they have this, this, and this. We have an attraction to them. They have our same values. They have a job. Whatever it is that you look for in a mate, the people that we're attracted to show us what our values are in relationships. So we can certainly enjoy the people in our life, but when we're manifesting, we want to be very clear that the universe is open to give us our perfect mate, because truly our perfect mate is already out there, and we will spend so much time wasting on the wrong person. Also, forgiveness is key. So we have to let go of mistakes. This counts for other people's as well as ours. We make a mistake, we let it go. We don't focus on it. We give ourselves grace as much as we give another person grace. And really, the more we give grace, the more we get grace, and the more we can move fluidly throughout our life without being held back. Now here's one of my favorite principles. Our fourth principle, I'm compiling several principles into one, but this is the creative law of prosperity. This is how we manifest. This is how I learned manifestation, from this set of principles. This is what I understood it to be when I was a young woman. So creative is writing down what you want. It's imagining and visualizing what you want. It's speaking out what you want. This is the creative aspect of it. It's literally creating it. And now I've heard that some people like to get very specific, and the more specific they are, the more quickly it manifests in their life, while other people can be more general, and the more general they are, the quicker it comes into their life. So it's almost like maybe perhaps it's balancing energies within us, that if we aren't very specific, that we need to be more specific to create and manifest. Whereas people that are pretty specific need to be more general to let go and allow bigger and better to come to them than what they're imagining. A lot of times, one of the issues that we have when we're manifesting is that we can't see outside of our box. So manifesting is not about creating what's possible for us. It's about creating whatever is possible, which is everything. Anything is possible. Nothing is impossible. So dreaming big it's easier the bigger you dream, because it gives you this energy and this momentum to get out of bed in the morning. And it's almost, the challenge actually is more challenging. It gives us more energy, whereas we don't get as motivated when we have a smaller goal. So we want to think big about how we're creating. Now, I talked earlier about command, the law of command, and using that to find that arguing mind within you. And now this is one of my favorite, at least now, maybe my favorite, is the law of command, where I speak out what it is that I want. For me, hearing it back is how I can directly hear those arguing thoughts. After several weeks, these thoughts dissipate of saying it daily, and I begin to feel the feeling of what it feels like to be deeply loved, or deeply adored, or deeply cherished, or whatever command that you want to say off into the universe. As I was recording earlier, I was in a fight with the crows here in my trees, and so I was screaming at them and yelling at them, and went so far as to march out there and clap my hands. And the more I did it, they'd stop for a moment, and then I'd come up here and turn on my camera, and the minute I'd start speaking, to the point where I felt like they were arguing with me. I'd stop and I'd wait, and they'd be quiet, and then I'd start, and they Finally, I decided, what am I doing? I want to manifest. So I commanded them gone, out of this neighborhood. And they got farther away. But it was when I commanded with my voice, saying it out loud, speaking onto the breath of God that literally created us and turned us from mud and dust beings into these living, breathing beings. Speaking it out onto the breath of God that created it instantly, I'm surrounded by the beauty of beautiful sounding birds. Instantly, they all sounded everywhere. And the birds, the crows were gone. The power of command is so amazing. And now, at first you see it small, because that reticular activating system only allows us to see what we believe. So saying it over and over eases our cognitive dissonance over a period of time, that allows us to be able to see things that we couldn't even see, that were in the environment before, that were in our life, that were in our being. Love that law of command. Now, a journal has been my main go-to for my entire journey through manifestation, from when I was 18 to present. That journal was how I visualized everything. And you can journal everything. There are multiple forms of journaling. It can be stream of consciousness. It can be journaling problems. It can be brainstorming what you want. It can be visualizing your perfect day, visualizing your perfect year, visualizing your perfect family. The journal is really open to you and allows you to get those thoughts out of your head onto paper. Like the voice that gets out of your head so that you can literally hear it back, putting it on a paper pours it out of your head and then empties your head so that you can think new thoughts. It's very powerful. And the other one is creative visualization. So this is meditations. And I love meditations, guided meditations, visualizations. These are so important for feeling it and getting it into the body. So what this looks like is meditations where you go within and imagine. It could be walking meditations or moving meditations that I've been exploring lately as I research periods in history during the Enlightenment where authors actually walked to form their stories. So the process of moving the body is a rich way to link into visions that we have that are activated by movement within ourselves that would be different, possibly more dynamic, more energetic than the visualizations we're doing when we're seated or when we're in no movement situations. And the fifth principle that I'm discussing here today is the law of increase. This is about creating exponentially. So we're not adding one manifestation to the next in this building that goes straight up brick by brick. In manifestation, your creations multiply exponentially. So we multiply in tens. So 10 times 10 is 100. Times 10 is 1,000. Times 10 is 100,000. So the law of increase is about the exponential expansion of creation. Now, how do we achieve this? Ironically, the key to exponential growth is to slow down, to relax. Harkening back to our vacuum principle, we're letting go and slowing down to increase our productivity in our creation. So, for instance, say we have a person who's very busy and they're moving through their day. They have so much on their plate that they can't even really see beyond what is on their plate. They're really just an automaton moving in this environment that they've created. But when we slow down, we rise above our situation and we can look down over the environment and see where we can create that will build us exponentially. It's the difference between a worker who's at the bottom, who's accomplishing a task, and the owner who's at the top who can see the grand systems. Exponential growth is about increase, expansiveness. I myself have experienced this expansive exponential increase in the last year when I did slow down, and I did so with a intention of resting in grace and just resting in movement. So I'm still moving through my day and being active and seeking to achieve, making intentions, but I'm doing so with a feeling of rest in that I'm going to let the forces in the universe work for me. I'm leveraging the energy all around me as opposed to doing everything within my own strength. This is where the key to exponential increase happens, is not doing it in your own strength. And this is hard for our ego to let go of, this idea that we are in control. Yes, we can visualize and create anything we want, and it gives us the possible illusion, the idea that we are in control, but honestly, we're in a partnership, and when we leverage all the energy of the universe, we're actually much more powerful than when we are working in our own strength. And this is key to the law of increase. Having a prosperous attitude towards money. That's the principle. So when we apply this, we're going to apply this as a prosperous attitude towards love and relationships. So what do you feel about your relationships? We're going to harken back to our accounting that we did in the very beginning. What do you believe about love? What are some areas that you believe that are not helping you get closer and have intimacy in relationships. I talked earlier about how we can, when we create negative situations in relationships, it's easy to blame and point the finger at the other person. And so say, for instance, your partner is addicted to a substance of some kind. And so you want to blame your partner that they are at fault. Now, in codependent relationships, it is very common for an addictive personality to be with a codependent personality. So the codependent is not addicted, but they're addicted to taking care of this addiction. They enable the person to be addicted, so on and so forth. So why would they create that situation? It could be found, the answer could lie in the ego, the martyr, getting this sense of accomplishment from taking care of, the feeling good about being a caretaker. But it could also point to problems with intimacy. So if this codependent also has problems with intimacy and they just don't express it in such an obvious form as addiction is, it's hidden to them, and they're hidden in their inability to allow intimacy in their life. And that is a hard fact to look at when you've created, sometimes you create these elaborate, we all create these elaborate webs in which we live this life that we don't enjoy, we don't like, we're not happy with, we want change. And yet we have this intricate system of beliefs that keeps this lifestyle intact. So how do we shift it? Well, we use all the techniques that we used before, but we target what it is we believe about love and relationships or prosperity or whatever it is that you're working on manifesting. What are your beliefs are possible? Because if you believe anything is possible, then truly anything is possible in love and relationships. Oftentimes we believe that we can only have love, but we can't have work. So we can have each other, but we'll have to not have money or be well off. Or you can believe that love doesn't last, or you have to work hard in love, or love has its ups and downs. Whatever it is that you believe is what you're going to see repeated in your relationships. And this is going to be across the board. Of course, we have a tendency to focus on our mate or our partner, but we're going to see this in family, we're going to see it in friends, we're going to see it in our colleagues. Similarly, using the law of prosperity for prosperity, what do you believe about money? Do you believe it's scarce? Have you heard over and over that it doesn't grow on trees? Do you look at advertisements and everything is about saving money, so you're always in this state of how can I save money, as opposed to what do I really want? When I have been guilty of, and I certainly recognize this in other people, when we're so addicted to saving money that we live our lives to save money. Every decision is anchored in this point of saving money. Are we doing the same thing in love and relationships? Is everything about what you're getting as opposed to what you're giving? Now, the seventh principle is the ancient law of prosperity, and this is about the tithe. Now, biblically, we all know that the tithe is 10%. Tithe actually means 10. And the reasoning in biblical terms is that all things belong to God, so we give a tenth back to Him. And now I've certainly tested this principle in prosperity terms, in money terms, simply just giving 10% of my income to my spiritual organization, to my church. And I have seen it blow up my finances. It is miraculous in the way it works. It absolutely does work, and it even says in the Bible, test me on this. Test the tithe. It absolutely does work. And the way it works, I've seen, at least as I've watched it work in my life, is that it was so hard in the beginning to do it. I see so much of our religious objection about this very subject about the tithe. And this seems to be what upsets and everyone so much when it comes to religion is, why does the church get 10%? It's so unfair. You know, what is the preacher doing with this money? You know, on and on and on. But what I saw when I started giving, so I didn't feel like I could afford a tenth of the salary. I needed every little penny. But I was loyal to this idea, and I tithed 10%. And indeed, what I saw was that it opened up other avenues, and it made every part of my life easier. So it wasn't just about money. It was that the car doesn't break down constantly when I don't have the funds for it. And things I need or want suddenly show up in my doorstep in the arms of friends like, oh, did you need this or that? I had everything that I needed taken care of as I tithed, and I watched my income progressively, repeatedly increase almost by a third, constantly multiplying in a third. Now, how can we use this principle in love and relationships? How can you give 10% of your energy into your love and relationships? Now, my suggestion would be to give this energy in the form of time and energy, not money. And not back into the person that you want the most from, say your partner, or 10% of your energy into a relationship that you're having trouble with. My suggestion is that you give 10% back into your community some way, back into the church, back into your neighborhood, back into your community. And you'll see, like I saw, that what tithe does is it unplugs the energy. So when we hold on to money, it becomes more and more scarce. The Bible says, scatter your money to watch it grow. You hold it and hide it and dig it in the ground, and you end up having nothing and living in poverty. Money is an energy, just like love is an energy. And we keep this energy flowing back and forth in a give and take. And the more we give, the more we can receive. And so we want to give that energy out. So say we come at the end of the long day, we don't feel like we have the energy, but the tithe creates more energy. And not only that, but it creates new relationships in the community, especially if you're giving a tenth out into your church or community. You're taking steps into leadership in this position. Similarly, you invest your time into something, you're going to naturally become a leader. You're going to find talents that you didn't know you had. You're going to strengthen parts of your values that you love, and you're going to give them back to the community, and that is only going to serve to exponentially shower you with more love, more energy, and deeper and stronger and more intimate relationships. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this manifestation mashup. I'd love to hear your takeaways from this mashup challenge. Let me know your biggest takeaway, your aha, your revelation. And as always, keep expanding. That my vibration reflects in the thoughts that I'm having. That my vibration of what I'm thinking reflects through Shut up! That the vibration of my thoughts were dumb birds. My fiance has been feeding these idiots. He seems to think crows are worth something. Meanwhile, we have a beautiful falcon that lives here, and he's brought in this team of ugly crows. Nasty, ugly, foul-sounding crows. Haven't seen the eagle. Excuse me, the hawk. It's enough to make me want to manifest something else. Relationally. I command these birds to be gone in the name of Jesus Christ. I command these evil demon birds to be cast out of this neighborhood. These birds fly away from me now, in the name of Jesus. I have beautiful sounding birds in my vicinity. There are beautiful sounding birds that fill the air.